The Apple Watch kind of made me climb like 2 grades harder. So I started noticing great climbers like Brooke Rabbittu and Kyra Condie climbing with their Apple Watch. And I used to think fitness trackers and Apple Watches were kind of useless until my roommate Bodhi teased me about eating from plastic bowls and heating up hot like liquids and foods in the microwave. And he said that every time I do that, he'd always be one day ahead. And honestly, I didn't like that. Not because I wanted to be better than him, it was because he made me realize that I could be doing so much more to the thing that I care so much about. We always yap about the crazy optimal things that we do or the training strategies or methodologies that we do, but yet there's still glaring holes in a lot of people's fitness and health that can be addressed that will make them climb way harder. Just saying, I'm not fucking sponsored. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm not sponsored by whoever. This comes at no benefit to me to try to sell you on this Apple Watch and this Bevel app because I'm not getting paid by them. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is inconsistencies in training. Have you guys ever felt really strong or felt psyched for a climbing session only to show up to the gym, warm up, and climb like shit? That's catalyzed by my inconsistencies in my diet. With the Apple Watch, I've started to track my calories and macros. And it's gonna sound tedious or it's gonna sound gym bro-y, but it's really not that extraneous. All you do is weigh your food and then you type it into the app and then that's it. And it'll tell you the macros and whatever. Like, it's not that hard. Like, I know people who brain rot for like hours on end and this is like nothing, you know? I try to eat at maintenance and maybe sometimes at a deficit or surplus depending on which phase I'm in, and try to maintain 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's just to be on the safer side of the current scientific paradigm, literature, and all that. The next point I want to talk about is recovery tracking. I used to not be a believer in recovery metrics because there were a abundant amount of studies showing that your perception of how well you recovered was way more vital than the actual recovery score that you got. But what those studies failed to encompass was the actual athletic performance and physiological stress that you've experienced. Therefore, a much more reliable metric is heart rate variability. It's defined as the time interval between your heart rates and indicates your heart's ability to adapt and recover to cardiovascular stresses, with higher values suggesting a better cardiovascular fitness and adaptability and lower values suggesting otherwise. The app and Apple Watch and other fitness trackers will give you a recovery score based on how well you slept and how long you slept and stuff like that. And it has showed a really strong correlation between my high recovery scores and my really good climbing days. And I know people might say it's placebo. One, I think saying something's placebo is a lame excuse to undermine maybe working methodologies and things that actually work and kind of absolves yourself from responsibility. Not the point. But another thing is the times that I've forgotten to check my recovery score, which means I can't be psychologically subverted to those scores, and my really good climbing sessions have had a really strong correlation with each other and vice versa. So I just don't think it's a coincidence anymore. I think there are really good sessions that come from having really good recovery scores. Lastly is stress scores, which takes your fitness data and your heart rate and your activity tracking and turns it into a stress score. And based on your recovery score, it will give you a range, a working range on the stress score where your body can physiologically recover for the next day. If you consistently exceed that value, then you're probably chronically overtraining or are about to deload just because of the accumulated fatigue. Also, if you say you don't need a deload, then you're simply just not training enough to be progressing at the fastest rate. If to be training at the fastest rate and to improve and adapt at the fastest rate, you will build up accumulative fatigue over the weeks of training in that phase, and you do need to deload. I know there's going to be some complaints about the Apple Watch, so I'm going to address that. First off is prices and money. And honestly, I got this thing on Amazon for like 140, 150. That's the same price as my drones, you know? I think this is gonna last way more than my climbing shoes and has helped me climb way better than any climbing shoe has. So I think it's definitely well worth it, especially compared to the Whoop bands, which have like a $200 to like $370 yearly subscription that you don't even get like a full-fledged like watch and computer on your wrist for, which just like doesn't practically make sense for me. And the charging, don't treat it like a phone per se. You treat it like you wake up and while you're getting ready for your morning, you put it on the charger for a couple minutes. And during times when you're working on your desk or being sedentary, you can charge it then because you're not really tracking any like activity. It takes like for the newer ones, it takes like 30 minutes to get to like 80%, you know, like, and it lasts for like a day and a half. So like really, I don't think that's an inconvenience like at all. Like it's so minor compared to like the things that it will benefit you. And I think people are just complaining because they're fucking lazy. But yeah. I just feel really strongly about it because it's like you say you care so much about it, but are you doing all that you can for it, you know? And that's what the Apple Watch and all that stuff has made me realize. So so fucking awkward all the time.